Yeah, welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast. Got a pretty interesting show for you here today. Going to talk some LeBron James and an angle that I probably haven't really touched before, but I think this was pretty interesting. But before we get to that, if you haven't already, you know what time it is. If you're here on YouTube, please go ahead, click that subscribe, that like, and that notification bell. We're getting up there. We're advancing. We're over 800 subscribers. Thank you to everybody who's clicking that button. Please continue to share and tell people about it so we can make this grow. We're getting up to that magic number of 1,000. And as soon as we get there, we're going to start those live call-in shows because, again, I know a lot of you disagree with a lot of things that I have to say. Some of you do agree, and that's cool too. But I want to further take this show to another level and put us in a place where, I can really, really do a great job interacting with you guys. So that's what I'm looking forward to. So as soon as we hit that magic number, 1,000 subscribers and get the channel there, we're going to start those live call-in shows. I think that's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of interesting. But in the meantime, like I said, make sure you share the channel. And if you want the audio only version of the podcast, please make sure you open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in the Format Podcast. We should come right up. If you're enjoying the content, give us that like and subscribe right there. And don't forget to give us that 5-star review and leave us a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. Now let's get right to it. So, LeBron James. Everybody knows who LeBron James is. You don't even have to be a sports fan to know who LeBron James is. He's one of the greatest American athletes of all time. No question about it. And he's had one of the greatest NBA careers of all time. No question about that. There are a lot of people who have him number one as the greatest basketball player of all time. I don't. I think that's Michael Jordan. No question about it. But a lot of people believe it's LeBron James, and I suppose that for those people, he's made a very strong case with what he's been able to accomplish statistically, awards-wise, and winning in his career. So I'm not going to get into the GOAT argument. That's not what this is about. But, a lot of people feel that way, and that's cool. I got to respect that, even if I don't agree with it. But one of the things that I've always talked about when it comes to LeBron James is the fact that his career seems, while he's accomplished a great deal on the floor, it seems very contrived and full of narratives in terms of how he wants to control the way he's perceived by people, by sports fans, by sports media, everybody, right? A lot of narratives are in place in terms of trying to control the way LeBron is perceived. And one of them is this narrative that LeBron James makes everybody he plays with better. Now, this is something I've pushed back against for years and years, right? And let me just make an example, right? If LeBron James makes everyone he plays with better, why? And we'll use Kobe here and Michael Jordan here, because oftentimes those are the two other players that you hear get brought up in terms of, who's the greatest player of all time, right? Why is it then that if LeBron James makes everybody he plays with better, that he's needed so many trades on his rosters throughout his tenure in the NBA? And why do I say that? Teams that he's been on since he's been in the NBA have had over 150 trades of players and first-round draft picks, right? We have literally seen, just since he's been in LA alone, we've literally seen at the trade deadline, teams turn completely over and become a brand new roster to finish out the season. Now, like I've said, if he's so great, why does he always need that, right? He makes everybody he plays with better. So if that's the narrative and that's supposed to be the truth, why can't he lift the players that he has instead of, oh, nah, this guy ain't getting it done, so I got to get him out of here and get new ones, right? It doesn't add up. It's the same thing of the narrative that LeBron would be more successful if he had better head coaches throughout his career. Well, that's odd because LeBron has had, in 21 years, he's had 9 different head coaches, right? Now, he's played on 3 different teams, so that plays a role. I give you that. But you've had 9 different head coaches. So that's what, 1 every 2.5 years, 1 every 2 1/3 seasons. Who's the common denominator there? LeBron, right? So if you've had all these coaches and you've had all these players traded, does the narrative really fit? Do you really make everyone better? Are you really not as successful as you would have been because you don't have great coaching? These are things to think about. So anyway, why am I bringing this up? I was looking through the internet today and I was working on some other stuff and just thinking about, what am I going to talk about today? Am I going to get on here and do a pod? And I actually found an article, and it's interesting. It's called LeBron Never Sacrificed. J.A. Adande breaks one of the biggest myths about LeBron James. And if you don't know J.A. Adande, He is a well-respected sports writer and former TV personality on ESPN. And now he, I believe, is the director of sports journalism at Northwestern University, which is one of the most highly regarded and respected journalism schools in the country. If you talk about journalism schools, it's normally going to be Mizzou, Syracuse, and Northwestern. Those are the top three. That's not to say there's not other good journalism programs throughout the country, but those are pretty much the creme de la creme in that field. And as such, J.A. Adande being Northwestern alum, he is now returned to his school, and he is the director of sports journalism at the school, right? Michael Wilbon is a graduate of Northwestern University. Greeny from Get Up on ESPN. Mike Greenberg, he's a graduate of Northwestern. A lot of really outstanding sports media personalities attended Northwestern. But anyway, so JJ Adande was interviewed, and he had some very interesting comments. And one of them was, LeBron never changed. LeBron never sacrificed, right? And what are we saying about this? I'll get to a little bit of a breakdown on that. But here are some of the comments that he made, right? I don't have the audio, so I'm going to read them to you. JJ Adande says, quote, "The whole key is whether or not LeBron is ready to say, here, you take it. When LeBron went to Miami, everyone talked about, you got to sacrifice. LeBron never sacrificed. LeBron goes to Miami. Bosh and Wade see their usage rates go down. LeBron stays the same. LeBron goes back to Cleveland. Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving's usage rate goes down. LeBron stayed the same," said Adande on the Bill Simmons podcast. So these are things that pretty much should be common sense, kind of, if you watch basketball or if you know anything about the game. Now, let me be real here, right? And let me be fair. LeBron, in, I want to say, just about every case, was the best player on. So he's been on 3 different franchises. He's always been the best player. Give you that, right? But the fact is, he generally manipulates the rosters, but it's not so much that he does that. It's even still when he brings in guys that were, big time players on other teams, all of a sudden he relegates them to really supporting roles, and those guys' careers generally go down, right? And it's unfortunate. Now, here's the science of it. If I'm averaging 25 a game and I go with a guy who's averaging 27 a game, obviously I'm probably not going to average 25 a game anymore, most likely, right? Because there's just simply less shots to go around. But the fact is, we talk about this, LeBron makes everybody better and sacrifice, but I'm not going to go as far as to say that LeBron is a stat monger, but it's very interesting that for a guy who's supposed to make everyone better, it's always about his numbers and everyone else's numbers have to suffer, right? Here's an example. When LeBron left Miami, he went back to Cleveland and he got Kevin Love on the team. And of course, Kyrie Irving was already there. Now, Kevin Love is a guy that 2 seasons prior to that averaged 20 points and 15 rebounds, led the league in that category. Another season prior to that, he averaged 26 and 13, right? So Kevin Love was an outstanding player, big time scorer and a big time rebounder, right? Okay, cool. He gets to Cleveland and he drops from 26 and 12 and a half the previous season to 16 and 9.7. Those are huge drop-offs, right? 3 rebounds a game and 10 points per game. Now, again, nobody's expecting, and I'm sure Kevin Love, he's a smart enough guy, he wasn't expecting that he's going to go join LeBron's team and still average 26 and 12. But a 10-point drop-off, and if you remember and you watched it, Kevin Love was pretty much relegated to, on offense, not having a defined role other than to sit in the corner and wait for kickouts, right? LeBron loves shooters and he loves guys that can hit the corner 3. And often that's what he relegates guys to, playing in the LeBron system, right? LeBron, as we've talked about, doesn't play in any particular basketball system. He plays in his system. He's got to control the ball most of the time. It's only now that he's older and physically unable to do it that he's playing off the ball more, but he's got to control the ball most of the time. He's got to make the decisions most of the time. He's got to always have the ball in his hands, and that's not always healthy. And that also doesn't fit the narrative of a guy who makes everyone better, right? Okay. Chris Bosh was an all-star in Toronto, had a lot of good years there. And in fairness, he was an all-star in Miami too, but I think that was kind of more along the lines of, D Wade and LeBron James were all-stars. So that, let's bring Chris Bosh along. It's better for the, it's better for the TV product, an all-star game. But anyway, Chris Bosh, his year before going to Miami, it was in Toronto. He averaged 24 and 11, 24 and 10.8 rebounds to be exact. He gets to Miami, big drop off, 18 points and 8.3 rebounds. Again, you get a loss of 2 rebounds per game and you get a loss of almost 6 points per game. So again, no one is expecting that Chris Bosh is going to go there with D Wade, who's a 25 points per game guy, and LeBron, who's a 26, 27 points per game guy, and still get his, 24, 25 points a game. No one's expecting that. But to see a drop off that pronounced, it says something. And again, offensively, we noticed what? Chris Bosh starts hanging out, shooting a ton of threes, right? And I mean, these are the things we talk about. Now, D Wade kind of bucks that, right? Because the year before LeBron got there, he averaged almost 27 a game. And then the year after, D Wade averages 26 a game, 25.5. But then after that, sharp drop off, right? 22.1, 21.2, 19.0. And so the numbers keep falling off. Why? Because LeBron is never willing to give up his numbers, right? He's never willing to give up his numbers. And of course, for the guy who sacrifices, the guy who makes everyone better, we also know that there's going to be a lot of trades going on, right? Guys are going to be in, guys are going to be out. We're going to revamp rosters. Now, I will say in fairness, there weren't nearly as many trades and roster revampings in Miami. Why? Because LeBron didn't quite have the same level of power, because obviously the Godfather, Pat Riley, was the guy who was really pulling the strings down there. And that, in realism, is one of the reasons that LeBron left after 4 years, because he wanted more power in the organization. And Pat Riley was like, nah, we're not having that. And if you remember a few episodes back, I talked about how LeBron actually tried to get Coach Spo fired, Eric Spoelstra. And Pat Riley again was like, we're not having that, right? So, sacrifice, make everybody better. But what actually happened always decries the narrative. So it's so amazing to me that, people act like they didn't actually see what happened. But it was cool to see that a guy like Adande actually came out and told the truth about it, right? Now, does this take away from LeBron's greatness as a player? LeBron is a great player. LeBron has had an all-time great career. But the narrative. And why did this kind of come up, right? Remember, a couple of years ago when Russell Westbrook left Houston and went to the Los Angeles Lakers. Remember, he's a LA native, grew up rooting for them, so that was like a kind of homecoming. It's interesting. They didn't have to get him, but LeBron wanted Russell Westbrook. Why? Russell Westbrook is a top 75 player. So LeBron says, hey, I'm going to do what I always do. I'm going to stack the deck with more talent, and that's going to help me win more easily, right? You're going to grease the skids so you can win. Okay, cool. But anybody with half a brain should have realized that that's not going to work, right? Russell Westbrook is an extremely ball dominant player. How is he going to play with a guy like LeBron? That was the first thing I thought, but we heard the narrative. LeBron's going to make it work. LeBron's going to make it work, right? That's what they always say. But guess what? Russell Westbrook had to play off ball. He got relegated again to kind of hanging out, waiting for the ball and either shooting or slashing. And that's not Russell Westbrook's game. He's got to make decisions. He's got to have the ball. He's definitely not a shooter. And it didn't work out. So guess what? Russell Westbrook gets excoriated by the media. He gets excoriated by the team. He ends up getting, I think he got traded. Did he get traded? He either got traded or released. I can't remember. But he ends up with the Clippers, and he's, much happier there. You saw a lot of the old Westbrook come back. But the point I'm trying to make is we keep pushing this narrative about LeBron making everybody better, and it's just not true. And we've seen it time and time again. But I guess only lower level players he can make better, because he can force them to kind of do what he wants them to do, and that's sit outside, catch kickouts, and shoot threes. But it is what it is. Anyway, what I want to know from you: do you believe it that LeBron makes everybody better? Do you believe it that LeBron would have had more success if he had better coaching? What are your thoughts on Adande saying that LeBron doesn't sacrifice? Leave your comments in the comment section. Can't wait to hear from you. Can't wait to get back to you. And I'll be back next episode. And I'm out. Peace.